Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. If you're starting a home improvement project or a do-it-yourself project, start where the best construction companies in East Tennessee start. That's A.G. Hines Company. All the tools and building materials you need for a winter job, because you better have the right tools and the right materials. If you're doing something in the winter, you need different stuff. All at affordable pricing to keep you on budget. aghines.com to learn more. Visit them on Hines Street right down in downtown Knoxville. A.G. Hines Company. All right. Tennessee is 14-3. They are 4-1 in the SEC, and they were ranked in the top 5 before yesterday. Yet this one loss has a lot of us in the media saying, uh-oh, this is how they're going to go out in March. Beware. I mean, people waving red flags. I expect that on Twitter, but I didn't expect to see so many people in our field doing that yesterday. That here we go, mark it down, this is the way it's coming. So my question is, it wasn't a pretty loss, obviously. Most of them aren't, but that was an ugly loss. And Mark, I'll let you chat on that. But was that a bad loss in terms of a warning sign, in terms of that red flag? Or was that just college basketball? You play 35 games, you're going to have some nights where you can't hit, you don't rebound, you don't get the free throws. They're just as likely to come out and look great the next day. How seriously are you taking this one loss out of 17 that they've played so far?
I think it's college basketball. I mean, last year Tennessee beat North Carolina by 20 or so, and who wound up in the national championship game? One year Florida won the national championship, and they lost 5 of 6 games in SEC play in February, and people started writing them off. It's just a different sport. You get hot at the right time. Is it a concern that you shoot 3 for 21? Yeah, it is, which could happen to anybody. But I still think this is a really good basketball team. So I look at it more as it's basketball. You're playing 30-some-odd games. You're going to have a game like that.
And in terms of getting out-rebounded yesterday, it is effort, and they did have other guys rebound. But Sheboy's kind of a difference maker on that area. So go ahead. Jump in.
The effort piece always gets me. I think it's more – guys give great effort. I think they play hard. What they don't do at times is focus on the right things. And when you're not shooting the basketball well, or you turn it over, like Zakai, like we're up 8-0, we make some substitutions, we have some bad turnovers, and I told my wife, we're sitting there, it's like, hey, we're giving them hope now because they think they can get back in this game because of some turnovers that led to transition baskets. It's what these guys focus on. So I think they give great effort. I think their focus, and Barnes talked about doing their job, that's where they got away from it at times. Look, 9 of the top 25 lost yesterday. That's just what happens in college basketball.
Red flags everywhere.
You don't see that in football as much. You don't see the number 1 team in the country. Like, I mean, Kentucky was near the top. You have Michigan State was near the top. You have Duke is going to fall out of the top 20. It just happens in college basketball where you see these upsets, and it is about getting hot at the right time.
A lot of people, though, were talking about how bad this loss was. In between segments here, you talked about the fact that part of it is the style of play makes their losses look a little worse.
Well, I disagree. We are a tough team. We are a very physical team. I think when we are not making three-pointers, it makes our offense harder to watch. The scores end up being lower. It becomes more of a fist-fight type game that when you end up losing that game, it just feels like a worse loss because of the style points are not there compared to when you're making these shots and you're scoring 80 or 90 points.
I just tend to think it's a lot of people expecting this team to lose in March because what's happened with Rick Barnes' teams in the past. I think some of that is, here's what's going to happen. Here's how they're going to lose in March because we know that's what's going to happen. I think some of that's obviously overreaction, and some of that is, there are some things here that could be underlying issues and problems, but I don't think this is the kind of thing that's we're going to look back at this and say, that was the beginning of the end. There's 2 months left 2+ months left in the regular season. If you're peaking right now, I'd be more concerned, honestly, because it's such an ebb and flow to the season. You want to have some adversity to fight through now and things to get better on that will pay off in March. So I don't worry about it at all.
I want Barnes to win, and I think Barnes is really good. Yes, he's not gone to this. Just when anybody starts questioning Rick Barnes and yes, his tournament, just go see what's happened at the school he just came from at Texas. They get Shaka Smart, ends up the guy that every program wanted, ends up not winning many games. They end up hiring Chris Beard, who's off to a great start, ends up getting arrested and fired. It's just a perfect example of you got a great coach, and if maybe he doesn't make it to a Final Four or national championship, but look at what happened is Duke's going to be outside the top 25, North Carolina. we're blessed to have what he's built here.
Right, and here's the thing, not that he needs the defense, and I don't think you were slapping
Yeah.
it
No,
back
no,
at
no,
Ryan.
100%.
But I mean, I agree with Ryan. I think there are a lot of people out there who are like, okay, they're going to die in March. We know that. Is this the prescription? Now we've seen the formula to knock them out in March. And what people forget is everybody but one team loses in March. It's not just Rick Barnes.
And I'll say this, the one thing about this team, I think yesterday, I mean, Julian Phillips, Olivier Kamwa, those guys not playing that, if they do that in March, this team might be in trouble. I think the thing that gives you hope if you're Tennessee is Phillips is a freshman. He's going to get better, you would think, throughout the year. If he gets a lot better by the end of the regular season, this is a much different looking team, and I think they're a lot more dangerous because they've got more of a well-rounded lineup.
I think it ends a concern in terms of how we describe that loss for Tennessee. How do they adjust to it? Do they have the adjustment to teams now game planning and try to take away their guards and their three-point shots? What's their answer to that? Like Ryan said, what's the development of Julian Phillips? So this team has some ingredients of postseason March success because they're a veteran team. They're deep.
Defense always keeps them in it.
Defense, they can play inside, outside. The peaks and valleys during the regular season, that's where you kind of wonder, all right, can they put it together to avoid that loss in the
one piece that they don't have that we've questioned, and Zakai was possibly that guy of who's going to go get a bucket for themselves or somebody else late in the clock. And Zakai tried to do it. He didn't finish at the rim yesterday.
Right.
In the NCAA tournament, when it comes to crunch time, you need a guy that can go create a shot for somebody else or themselves. And that's the one piece that I don't know if Tennessee has that guy figured out yet.
Everyone the thing that I saw yesterday was this is how they're going to lose in March. It's going to be somebody's going to out-muscle them. Somebody's going to go out there and play out-tough them. I will bet you right now, and hope maybe I'm wrong, I will bet you whenever they lose, and again, everybody but one team is going to lose, so I'm going to roll the dice that Tennessee will lose in March. When that happens, I bet we'll be sitting here talking about, well, they went 2 for 20 from three-point range. I think, look, Jeff Van Gundy famously said the NBA is a make-miss league. It all comes down to you hit your shots or not. Coaches can draw it up, comes down to hitting your shots. It's a make-miss game. So we can talk about out-muscling, we can talk about ball movement and everything else. The bottom line is when we get to March, I guarantee you the game they lose, we're going to be sitting here talking about the fact that, well, they went 3 for 30. That's what, and 9/10 of the basketball teams that lose in the tournament, they're going to be sitting there going, well, we went 3 for 30. That's my guess. But I'm a simpleton. So when we come back, let's talk about something I can talk about. Chris Lofton, what made him so special? Jimmy's covered basketball here for 30-something years. We'll talk to him. Mark Pancratz was lucky enough to be on the staff when Chris Lofton was over there. What made Chris Lofton special? Let's talk about that next. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Away from home? Watch the Sports Source live at WATE.com.